Thank you, Chrissy. Thanks for the lovely introduction, and to the team at RIU for the opportunity to present today. I'm not sure if you're all here for the Yeti or for the Hamelin Gold story, but I'm glad you're in the room, and well done if you've made it through for the 2 days. Everyone knows WA is one of the great gold mining districts of the world, but I ask the question, where's the next great multi-million ounce gold discovery going to come from? At Hamelin Gold, we believe that discovery is going to come undercover. Over the last few years, we've built up a portfolio of undercover, underexplored regions within 2 of Australia's most prolific gold provinces. And today I'd like to tell you a bit about the technologies that we're applying to explore undercover, some of those early results, and importantly, what's coming up next. A brief introduction to Hamelin. Our main project, which we listed on in some 3 years ago, is in the West Tanami, in the far northeast of Western Australia. More recently, we've added a suite of projects through the Yilgarn, and I'll talk about one of those specifically later on today. Our board and management is well experienced and well balanced, a good commercial and technical background, and our board and our company share structure is extremely tight. We're dominated by the 2 15% holdings from Goldfields and what was Silver Lake, now Vault Minerals. So a pretty tight capital structure. With 3.3 million in the bank, we're well funded for our 2025 exploration program. So welcome to the Tanami. We sit directly along strike in the same geology and the same mineralised structures, 100 k's away from one of Australia's great gold mines, the Tanami operations or Kali operations of Newmont. Now this operation is a true giant, produces 600,000 ounces of gold per annum. It's the lowest cost gold production anywhere in the world for Newmont, and it's got a plus 20 million ounce endowment. So a true giant. And the reason why we went to the Tanami is that this is quite an odd place for an orogenic gold. You shouldn't really have such a giant without a string of 2 to 5 million ounce systems within that same district, and probably a long tail of million ounce systems. And that's what's missing in the Tanami. There's a few, but really not enough to be the typical endowment of an orogenic system. But what happened this year is a real validation for why we were there. Newmont put out a latest updated resource from their Oberon discovery. This now sits at 2.7 million ounces and is growing. Validation for the sort of prize that we're looking for in our side of the Tanami. And we hold 100 strike kilometres directly on the West Australian side of the border. But why is it still there? Well, the Tanami Desert is an area that's extensively covered with a thin veneer of sand, between 2, maybe up to 10 metres of sand, just enough to make conventional exploration techniques ineffective. So we need to be really good at exploring in this sort of terrain in 2 particular areas. Prediction, meaning putting an X on the map, and then detection, looking through that sand to see if we can find the mineral system below. So collecting regional gravity data sets and interpreting gives us that X on the map. And then it's really applying smart technologies to look through the sand. And one we've had great success with in the last 12 months is the CSIRO developed ultrafine fraction soil analysis. And I'll tell you why we're so excited. Maps always tell a good story. Here's a 1 kilometre long gold anomaly that we generated using the ultrafine data in a completely new area, 3 to 5 metres of sand sitting over the top. We also collected conventional soil. So what would you normally do out there in years gone by? When you look at the conventional soil data, you do see a subtle anomaly sitting over the top of what we subsequently found as bedrock gold. Now that anomaly, if we'd sampled it a little bit broader, maybe not as lucky, that might have disappeared into background. But when you look at the ultrafine results from exactly the same samples, you see 6 to 8 times amplitude of that gold response. You really don't have to look too hard to see that anomaly. So we're really excited about how this works for gold, but what is also so exciting is we get another 52 elements when we analyse these results. And what we find is we get lithology information, we get alteration systems information. And when you do that on a regional scale, you get the sort of results we're seeing up in the far northwest of our project at Jazz, which is a completely underexplored or unexplored region of the project. So no effective exploration in this area, about 3 k's by about 3 k's. So that's the Sultan West area I just showed you in that small example. So we did a series of traverses across this entire area. From that, we're able to map geology, provide the first real geology map by tracing out one of the key mafic units that traverse through the area. And it showed some real complexity, something we looked for when targeting gold systems. We did find gold along that corridor, which was great. We also found extensive bismuth anomalism. And up here, bismuth and gold are almost a one-for-one correlation. So bismuth only are also targets we're interested in. But then, quite surprisingly, we saw a massive alteration anomaly, something that looks like it's running up a major northwest trending structure. And really, it's not much more than playing dot to dot and putting an X on the map, following the known gold trends into that cross-cutting structure, and we identified two distinct X's on the map. An aircore program in mid to late last year identified a clear, previously unknown, an extensive zone of gold mineralisation in early, shallow and quite broad-spaced air core drilling. And what a section across that looks like, it's about 500 metres long, it's open to the west, and it's still anomalous right to the southern boundary of our drilling. But what that looks like in section is a key sediment granite contact. Now this granite is also quite weird, it's something like we don't see elsewhere in the project. It's very, very silicious. When the structures have hit that, it appears to be fractured extensively, and it looks like the mineralisation extends over a vast area within this granite. Now again, it's only 400 metre spaced sections and 80 metre spaced holes, but these are great early results. What we see elsewhere in the Tanami is felsic rocks, and the sediments really don't hold gold in the regolith profile. They tend to get leached. So these sort of results, up to 0.5 gram gold, is very, very positive, and we can't wait to get the RC rig back there. We'll drill a series of traverses, both down dip and along strike. A really great example how we've gone from idea, testing new technology, making the observations and identifying the targets, and then drilling, all within a 6-month period. So keep your eye on that. Elsewhere and through WA, we've taken some of the learnings from the Tanami and looked at other areas within the Yilgarn where we can apply these new technologies. And we've identified to date 4 key projects, 2 which are now granted and 2 are going through the application process. And one I'll talk to you about is our Anderson project. And if you want to look at an area that's completely opposite to what the Tanami is, you go to the wheat belt and the eastern wheat belt and look at that part of the world. Extensive cropping area. But it's an area where explorers some 20 years ago identified gold in first pass regional exploration. They did also follow up with some drilling. So we had surface data, calcrete sampling and drilling to validate our ultrafine technology. So we duplicated the results or followed the same tracks and found the same anomaly. But what it also did is it expanded the tenor and identified a real hotspot within that larger target area. So just zooming in, we identified a major drainage-related gold anomaly, which extends, as you can see, over many kilometres to the north. And we also identified a major bedrock gold anomaly. And what's really interesting about the bedrock anomaly, it also coincides with where the previous drilling had ended in gold mineralisation. You can see some intersections there, up to 1 metre at 4.5 grams at end of hole, and at the most southern line of drilling, ending in 0.5, 0.3, 0.4. Really good indications that we're on to potentially, again, another large-scale gold system. So really good technology, applying it in multiple terrains and getting some really positive results. This is the guys, they went back out again after the crops got taken off, literally only a month ago. Assays are in the lab, and we've basically followed that entire bedrock trend with more detailed geochemistry. We hope we can generate really tight, high-grade, specific drill targets within that 3-kilometre corridor. So we've got a lot of work coming up, a lot of data coming out, both from our geochemical programs. We should be spinning rods within the next month on one of our Yilgarn projects, and then we'll be back up the Tanami doing heritage, and then getting those RC holes into the exciting Jazz target. So a lot of data coming out, hitting some really key large-scale gold projects. And if you're looking for a gold project that may be the next great million-ounce discovery in WA, keep an eye on Hamelin Gold. If you'd like to speak to us anymore, feel free to grab us out in the booth. But thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.